Did you know that Luxembourg has more Ferraris per capita than Monaco? Or that a tiny country with no natural resources outperforms oil giants in quality of life? The global wealth game is rigged, folks, but not in the way you think. Welcome back to Money Talks with Adia. Today, we're diving into the bizarre economic twilight zone, where some countries are drowning in poverty despite massive resources, while others are building skyscrapers on literal sand. Stick around, because fact number 3 completely shattered my understanding of global economics. Imagine a bustling market in a developing country, where people are working tirelessly just to make ends meet. Contrast that with a luxury shopping district in a wealthy nation, where spending is almost a pastime. Education, infrastructure, governance, these are the pillars that can make or break a nation's prosperity. Policies and governance play a crucial role in determining the economic fate of a country. But having natural resources isn't always a ticket to wealth. In fact, it can sometimes be a curse. Innovation and technology are the new gold mines, driving economies forward in unprecedented ways. So, what really makes a country rich or poor? It's a complex web of factors, and we're here to untangle it. Stay tuned to Money Talks with Adia as we explore the fascinating world of global economics. The truth is, if countries were stocks, most of us would be terrible investors. We judge nations by their GDP, flags, or whether their name sounds familiar. Amateur move. What you're about to see is the real story behind why some nations thrive while others struggle. And trust me, it's not what your geography teacher told you. Let's break down the top 10 mind-blowing reasons some countries are cash-rich while others are currency-poor, with some seriously weird exceptions that defy all logic. Switzerland, landlocked with zero beaches, minimal resources, and mountainous terrain that makes building anything a nightmare. Yet somehow, they're swimming in wealth, while the Democratic Republic of Congo, with $24 trillion in untapped mineral resources, struggles with extreme poverty. The secret? It's not what you have, it's where you are. Countries with navigable waterways and temperate climates had head starts that compound over centuries. Switzerland didn't need beaches when they had strategic mountain passes controlling European trade. Meanwhile, tropical countries battled constant crop diseases, hurricanes, and higher energy costs just to run air conditioning. But wait, this doesn't explain Singapore, does it? A swampy island with zero natural resources that transformed into an ultra-wealthy global hub? Take the Netherlands, for example. Much of the country is below sea level, yet it has become one of the world's most prosperous nations. Through innovative water management and advanced agricultural techniques, the Dutch have turned their geographical challenges into strengths. Japan, an island nation with limited natural resources, has leveraged technology and education to become an economic powerhouse. By focusing on high-tech industries and efficient infrastructure, Japan has overcome its geographical limitations. Similarly, South Korea, with its rugged terrain and limited arable land, has become a global leader in technology and innovation. Through investment in education and technology, South Korea has transformed its economy and improved its standard of living. Israel, a small country with limited natural resources, has become a global tech hub through innovation and entrepreneurship. By fostering a culture of innovation and investing in education, Israel has turned its geographical challenges into opportunities. The UAE, with its harsh desert climate, has transformed into a wealthy nation through strategic investments in infrastructure and tourism. By leveraging its strategic location and investing in modern infrastructure, the UAE has overcome its geographical limitations. Norway, with its rugged terrain and harsh climate, has become one of the world's wealthiest nations through its oil and gas reserves. By managing its natural resources wisely and investing in technology, Norway has turned its geographical challenges into strengths. So while geography and resources play a role, it's how countries leverage their unique circumstances that truly determines their wealth. But before you blame everything on oil, let's dive deeper into the intricate web of global finance and corruption that ensnares many nations. Let's talk about something that makes Wall Street look like kindergarten finger painting: the global financial system that's keeping the world's poorest countries in a debt trap that would make loan sharks blush. Imagine a system so rigged that it perpetuates poverty and stifles growth. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about real lives and futures being held hostage by debt. Many poor countries are stuck in a financial purgatory where they borrow money at high interest rates, then spend so much paying off that interest they can never invest in their own development. This cycle of debt is not just a financial issue, it's a human rights issue. It means fewer schools, hospitals, and opportunities for millions of people. Imagine getting a credit card with a 25% interest rate to pay for college, then spending your entire career just making minimum payments. That's essentially what's happening to dozens of nations right now. Take Jamaica. It's spent more on debt payments than on education and health combined for years. This isn't just a statistic, it's a tragedy that affects every aspect of life in the country. Meanwhile, Botswana avoided this trap by negotiating shrewdly when they discovered diamonds, maintaining control, and investing the proceeds domestically. This strategic foresight has allowed Botswana to flourish where others have floundered. But what good is financial freedom if your government treats the national treasury like their personal piggy bank? Corruption isn't just morally wrong, it's economically devastating. Let's talk about corruption and the bizarre exceptions where some corrupt countries still somehow manage to thrive. When businesses spend more on bribes than innovation, when government contracts go to the president's cousin instead of the most qualified bidder, and when the brightest minds flee a rigged system, economic development hits a brick wall. The World Bank estimates corruption costs over $1 trillion annually in bribes alone. That doesn't count the inefficiency, brain drain, and lost innovation. But then there's the weird exception. Countries like China, which has significant corruption, yet managed extraordinary economic growth. How? By centralizing corruption, yes, really, and ensuring that even corrupt officials have incentives to grow the economy. This centralized corruption model means that while corruption is rampant, it is also controlled and directed in a way that doesn't completely stifle economic progress. It's a paradox that challenges our understanding of governance and development. However, this doesn't mean that corruption is a viable path to development. For every China, there are countless other countries where corruption has led to economic ruin and social decay. The key takeaway here is that while some nations have found ways to navigate the treacherous waters of debt and corruption, the majority are still struggling. The global financial system and endemic corruption are twin forces that continue to hold back progress for millions. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but understanding the depth and breadth of the problem is the first step towards meaningful change. As we move forward, it's crucial to hold both financial institutions and governments accountable. Transparency, fair lending practices, and anti-corruption measures are essential to breaking this cycle. Only then can we hope to create a world where nations are free to invest in their own futures, unburdened by the shackles of debt and corruption. The fight against debt and corruption is a long and arduous one, but it's a fight worth engaging in. For the sake of future generations, we must strive for a fairer, more just global financial system. The stakes are high, but the potential rewards, a world where every nation has the opportunity to thrive, are even higher. So the next time you hear about a country struggling with debt or corruption, remember that these issues are deeply interconnected and require a global effort to address. By understanding the complexities and working together, we can hope to build a more equitable and prosperous world for all. Think education is the silver bullet? It's often hailed as the ultimate solution to many of the world's problems, from poverty to inequality. But is it really that simple? You're partly right, but before you mortgage your house for that MBA, let's talk about how the wrong kind of education can actually hold entire nations back. Education is a powerful tool, but like any tool, its effectiveness depends on how it's used. Investing in the wrong type of education can lead to a mismatch between the skills people have and the skills the economy needs. Education matters enormously, but not all education systems create economic prosperity. Some systems focus on rote learning and standardized tests, which may not equip students with the critical thinking and problem-solving skills needed in today's dynamic job market. Others may emphasize theoretical knowledge over practical skills, leaving graduates unprepared for real-world challenges. South Korea transformed from poverty to wealth in a single generation, partly by investing over 10% of its GDP in education focused on technical skills, sciences, and global literacy. This strategic focus on relevant skills helped create a workforce capable of driving economic growth and innovation. The emphasis on education was not just about increasing the number of graduates, but ensuring that their skills matched the needs of the economy. Meanwhile, some countries produce thousands of law graduates each year when what they desperately need are engineers, healthcare workers, and skilled tradespeople. This mismatch can lead to high unemployment rates among graduates and a shortage of essential skills in the workforce. It's a stark reminder that not all degrees are created equal, and the value of education lies in its relevance to the job market. Finland has one of the world's best education systems with no standardized tests, shorter school days, and teachers who are as respected as doctors. The Finnish model emphasizes holistic development, creativity, and critical thinking. By focusing on the overall well-being and development of students, Finland has created an education system that produces well-rounded individuals who are prepared for the complexities of modern life. They're creating problem solvers, not test takers. This approach fosters a love for learning and encourages students to think independently and creatively. It's about preparing students for life, not just for exams. While we're debunking myths, let's talk about how some countries are playing economic chess, while others are stuck in a game of economic Candy Crush. It's all about institutions, baby. Strong institutions create a stable environment where businesses can thrive, investments can grow, and economies can prosper. Why does North Korea struggle while South Korea thrives? The answer lies in the stark differences in their institutions. South Korea's institutions promote innovation, protect property rights, and encourage economic freedom, while North Korea's institutions stifle growth and innovation through strict control and lack of freedoms. Why is Haiti poor, while the Dominican Republic, sharing the same island, does much better? One word: institutions. The Dominican Republic has more effective institutions that support economic activities, enforce laws, and provide public services, while Haiti struggles with weak institutions that hinder economic development. Countries with strong property rights, independent courts, trusted banking systems, and effective government agencies create the foundation for wealth creation. These institutions provide the stability and predictability needed for economic activities to flourish. When people know their investments won't be arbitrarily seized, their contracts will be enforced, and corruption will be punished. Economic magic happens. Trust in institutions encourages investment, entrepreneurship, and economic growth. But the real economic plot twist involves how your grandfather's job might determine your country's wealth today. Historical economic decisions echo for centuries. Some countries got stuck in economic patterns established centuries ago. Latin American nations were structured around extracting resources for Spain and Portugal, creating highly unequal societies with weak middle classes that persist today. Meanwhile, North American colonies attracted families and developed diversified economies with stronger property rights for settlers, not indigenous populations. The most dramatic example? North and South Korea, identical cultures, resources, and histories until 1945, now with a 23 times difference in per capita GDP. Think globalization is the great equalizer? Think again. Because in the global economic Olympics, some countries start on the finish line while others begin the race with their shoelaces tied together. Here's where it gets political, but the numbers don't lie. Wealthy nations often force poor countries to open their markets while protecting their own industries. The United States developed its economy behind tariff walls, but pressures developing nations to drop trade barriers immediately. Meanwhile, agricultural subsidies in Europe and America make it impossible for farmers in developing countries to compete. A European cow receives more in subsidies per day than millions of people in poor countries earn. But some nations like Vietnam and Bangladesh have played this rigged game brilliantly, using export manufacturing as a stepping stone to broader development. The British Empire's colonial trade routes and Industrial Revolution laid the groundwork for modern global trade, but also entrenched economic disparities. Post-World War II, the Marshall Plan helped rebuild European economies, setting a precedent for international economic aid. Modern trade agreements and organizations like the WTO aim to create fairer trade practices, but the legacy of historical trade imbalances remains. Today, new players like China are investing heavily in Africa, potentially reshaping the continent's economic future. Global supply chains have interconnected economies, but also exposed vulnerabilities, as seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. Economic inequality remains a pressing issue, with protests and movements highlighting the need for more equitable trade and economic policies. Technological advancements and the digital economy offer new opportunities for growth, but also present challenges in bridging the digital divide. As we look to the future, the challenge remains: how to create a more inclusive and fair global economy that benefits all nations. Ever wondered why countries with identical colonial histories ended up with drastically different economic outcomes? It's a question that has puzzled historians, economists, and policymakers for decades. How can two nations, starting from seemingly the same point, diverge so dramatically in their economic trajectories? The answer might make you question everything you thought you knew about culture. Culture is often seen as a static, unchanging force, but in reality, it's incredibly dynamic and responsive to a multitude of factors. Some economists point to cultural factors explaining economic differences, attitudes towards saving, entrepreneurship, education, and social trust. These elements can indeed play a significant role in shaping a nation's economic landscape. For instance, a culture that values education highly is likely to produce a more skilled workforce, which in turn can drive economic growth. Countries with high social trust, like Nordic nations, have less corruption and more economic efficiency. This trust facilitates smoother transactions, reduces the need for costly enforcement mechanisms, and fosters a cooperative spirit that can lead to innovative solutions to economic challenges. But, and this is a massive but, culture is not the only factor at play. In fact, it might not even be the most important one. Culture changes in response to economic incentives. When new opportunities arise, people adapt their behaviors and attitudes to take advantage of them. This adaptability is a crucial aspect of economic development. South Korea's rapid development wasn't because of some inherent Korean work ethic. It was a response to a series of economic policies and opportunities that transformed the nation. The government invested heavily in education and infrastructure, creating a fertile ground for economic growth. Their culture adapted to new opportunities. The ultimate example? Look at the transformation of South Korea from a war-torn country in the 1950s to one of the world's leading economies today. This transformation was driven by strategic investments and a willingness to embrace change. Identical twins separated at birth. That's how some describe the economic divergence between Hong Kong and mainland China. Hong Kong and mainland China had radically different economies for decades, despite identical cultural backgrounds. Hong Kong's free market policies and strategic location turned it into a global financial hub, while mainland China's centrally planned economy lagged behind until reforms were introduced. And now for the factor that makes economists pull their hair out, the unpredictable element of luck. Because sometimes a country can do everything right and still get economically punched in the face by forces beyond their control. Natural disasters, political upheavals, and global economic shifts can all derail even the best-laid plans. Sometimes economic success comes down to sheer luck. Being in the right place at the right time can make all the difference. Being in the right geopolitical position at the right historical moment. For example, the discovery of natural resources like oil or minerals can catapult a country into wealth almost overnight. South Korea benefited enormously from U.S. support during the Cold War. This support included not just military aid, but also economic assistance and access to American markets. Taiwan's technology sector boomed partly because American corporations wanted alternatives to manufacturing in China. This geopolitical shift created a massive opportunity for Taiwan to become a tech powerhouse. Meanwhile, landlocked nations surrounded by unstable neighbors face barriers no policy can overcome. These countries often struggle with limited access to global markets and are more vulnerable to regional conflicts. And climate change is creating new economic winners and losers regardless of their policies. The wildest example? Consider how rising sea levels are threatening coastal economies while opening new shipping routes in the Arctic. Tuvalu earns about $5 million annually just from its TV domain name, a stroke of pure geographical luck that created a revenue stream larger than their export economy. This tiny island nation has leveraged its unique position in the digital world to create an unexpected source of income. The next time someone gives you a simple explanation for why some countries are rich and others poor, be skeptical. The reality is far more complex and nuanced. The reality is a complex mix of geography, history, institutions, policy choices, and a myriad of other factors that interact in unpredictable ways. And yes, sometimes just plain luck. Luck can tip the scales in favor of one nation over another, but it's not the only factor at play. But here's the good news. Understanding these factors helps us make better investments, support more effective policies, and create a more equitable world. By recognizing the interplay of these elements, we can craft strategies that address the root causes of poverty and inequality, and recognize that poverty isn't inevitable or permanent. With the right policies and investments, even the poorest nations can achieve significant economic progress. Countries from Singapore to Estonia have transformed their economies in a single generation by addressing these key factors. Their success stories offer valuable lessons for other nations. The global economy isn't a fixed pie. It's an ever-growing, ever-changing ecosystem where yesterday's poor can become tomorrow's innovators. This dynamic nature of the global economy means that opportunities are constantly emerging. It's an ever-growing, ever-changing ecosystem where yesterday's poor can become tomorrow's innovators. Innovation and entrepreneurship can spring from the most unexpected places. And now you understand the real rules of the game. The interplay of culture, luck, policy, and geography creates a complex tapestry that defines the economic fate of nations. By understanding these rules, we can better navigate the challenges and opportunities of the global economy. If you found this economic reality check eye-opening, smash that like button like it owes you money. Subscribe for more no-nonsense financial insights that actually help you understand how the world really works. Drop a comment telling me which of these factors surprised you most. I read every comment. And if you want me to cover how these global economic forces affect your investment strategy, let me know below. Until next time, this is Money Talks with Adia, where we don't just follow the money, we understand its entire twisted journey. Share this video with your friends and family to spread the knowledge. Let's make financial literacy go viral. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay informed, stay empowered.